Heyo!
Walking the crossroads
What is happening,
with
bro?
tires, Walker. What's going on, man?
Just chilling. Just got off work on Bourbon Street.
How was today on Bourbon Street?
It was great, man. Had a lot of people coming in, a lot of intrigue, a lot of questions, a lot of
A
answers.
lot of intrigue.
Well,
Oh, I
a
see.
lot of. I don't know about answers. Maybe
Mhm.
like
Was
clues.
Daniel Craig there as
Yeah.
Benoit Blanc? Like,
Yes.
and there was a family full of people that murdered their father, or what was
Maybe.
going on?
I just gave them
Mhm.
clues. I gave them clues so they could
Clues.
start walking the
Mhm.
crossroads for themselves. I thought that would be appropriate.
If there's a white dude with a striped polo named Steve, then I'm just run, dude. Just run away.
Watch out. Watch your back.
Yeah, Blue's Clues are bad. Yeah, not good.
All right. All right. So
Um,
this is the third and final Ghosts in Savannah episode with our
mhm.
friend here, Darren Bucare of Walking the Crossroads, telling us stories of his early life with the spirits in Savannah. So this is, if you go back and watch 2 and 1 of these episodes, maybe 1 and 2 would be better order. But if you watch those, then you'd be up to speed and see what this third one is about, because you've been saying it's a really cool story. I'm interested
Well,
to
it's a
hear it.
harrowing story, and
Yeah,
it's part of why that I do have some of the chops to deal with some aggressive spirits is because of what some of the interactions I had during this story,
right,
which was kind of early on, but after part 1 and 2 of Ghosts of Savannah. So
right,
so I got hired at Moondance to just hop right into it.
right. Yeah,
Moondance store co-owned by my first my first mentor and another tarot reader. She was an energy healer, involved with Savannah College of Art and Design, and doing quite a bit to really promote positivity in a spiritual community in Savannah in the late 90s, right at the edge of right before Katrina, like before we edged into 2001. It was, so she was there really, kind of promoting people like opening corridors and divine feminine and stuff like that. So because it was very divine feminine, I didn't think that she would want me to be
right.
there, but she really opened some corridors for me to be there. So when I was there, I met someone else who was working as a cashier, and she was also bartending at a place called Hannah East.
Okay,
Hannah's
okay.
East. Hannah's East was above the Pirate House. So let's talk a little bit about the Pirate House. The Pirate House was one of the first places where Jean Lafitte had his group of cronies and things, and they would like hang out right above River Street in Savannah, and they would bring people in to do some of their smuggling and whatnot, and a lot of the people they would promote it as a tourist location. Now I'm talking in the mid 1800s.
Sure.
So when I say
Yeah.
tourist location, so people were apt to go there, and they offered very wonderful food, French cuisine, and everything. But when you went there, if you weren't careful, you would get slipped a Mickey. And then they also had a tunnel, the pirate tunnel underneath the pirate house, that they would take you, and then you get slipped a Mickey. If you don't know what I'm talking about, see Google roofies and Google all sorts of yeah,
Right.
other awful things.
Yeah.
So you get slipped a Mickey at the pirate house,
Right.
and then you get walked out the back door of this tunnel, which goes right out to the river street, and then you're on a boat, and then you're shanghaied basically onto
Right.
the boat, and indentured servant or slave or what have you. So
Wow.
as pirates do. And what's wonderful is, and what the synchronicity is for me to be threaded into Jean Lafitte's history as we move into where you work presently, and it's all very threaded into each other. Wouldn't you agree?
Sure, of course. I mean, Jean Lafitte's
Yeah.
in Exile is a couple blocks up, oldest bar in New Orleans. So yeah, we know a lot about
Hmm.
his story, and
The
yeah, it's
blacksmith shop
definitely
and
yeah, it's not a wholly positive, like groovy story. It's a lot
Mhm.
of those guys back then were trying to get what they could get by any means necessary, it seems, and those means seem to be a little bit outside of what we would consider
Well,
privilege. Oh,
the private tears brought a lot of tears on occasion.
there he
Unfortunately,
is. Yeah, no, it's true.
even though they're fun, even though they're fun.
Sure,
So
no,
upstairs was a very upscale, like kind of a 5-star piano bar, where
okay,
my friend from Moondance worked, and we were kind of exploring our connectivity, and
right.
so she walked me into these pirate caves when it was closed, and I saw phantasms and phantoms, and it was
Okay.
very haunting, and then she kind of overserved me, and I was 22, so you know how people drink when they're 22, like morons.
Yes.
So
Yes.
and then she had
I
a
saw some of
very
those people
opulent
today, just to go back to the fact that I was on
right.
Bourbon today. Yeah, I
So she
saw
had a
quite a
very
few
opulent.
overserved people today. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
They're right. Well, we were getting along well,
Right.
and apparently I knocked over a couple cherubs in her Baroque themed apartment, and yeah, we didn't go out after that.
I've never seen anything like that with you either. Just no, I haven't.
never has
I
never
have.
happened before. Never,
No.
not at all, not at
No.
all. That's
Well,
totally off character. Yeah, totally
there's
off
a
character.
few stories we could tell, but not on this episode. Yes. But
No,
yes,
no,
that's
no.
yes, indeed.
Well,
All right.
we might need to take up. I mean, we don't need. It's not Botticelli's like workshop either. It was
Right.
like
Sure.
super. I mean, the 4-poster bed with the drapery
Right.
and all, which was very exciting for me initially, and then started knocking things over, and that wasn't
Right.
good.
Yes.
But again, 22, so
Yeah.
please
Sure.
forgive. At any rate, we still remain friends, but we weren't dating. But she introduced me to this pirate's house.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
So moving forward, as a reader at the store at Moondance, I got to know quite a few people involved with the store and involved with Savannah College of Art and Design, and they suggested that I go to McDonough's,
Okay.
which McDonough's was a local institution in Savannah. Anyone that is familiar with Savannah in the late 90s, early 2000s, McDonough's is this place that it was an institution where all the students would go to sing karaoke. It
Okay.
was very fun,
Okay.
very affordable. There's food there, and it was this thing where so you have the Savannah College of Art and Design.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you don't have people don't pay tons of money to go there
Right.
because they're not a little expensive.
Scholarships. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. They could be like finance
Right.
major, what have
Yeah.
you, or go to SCAD, spend all your family's money, and act out.
Sure.
So the karaoke that would happen there was a lot of like talking heads, a lot of I don't know, Romeo Void, like crazy shit. And I swear, and then the boring chicks would get together and do this whole like they would group up and sing My Dingaling, um, and it was no, I'm not. I wish I was joking. No, but it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely
Just
was a
wasn't
sight to see.
expecting
Like,
that. That's good. I like that. I
no,
appreciate it.
well, I wasn't expecting it either
Right.
when I
Yeah.
was there. That like a lot of preppy chicks and there were
Right.
some that were illustration
Right.
majors or they
Yeah.
wanted to
Sure.
design furniture. And they
Okay.
wanted to sing My Dingling, My Dingling. I like to
Yeah.
play with, yeah. And it was the whole.
Right. Yeah.
So here I am, and I'm trying. This is where I got. And if you wonder where I got my predilection for karaoke,
Right.
answer. Yep,
Sure.
you have your answer. You have your
Okay.
answer there
Okay.
because you had to represent, and they would guilt trip you into doing it. Like so, it
Okay.
had to be done.
Okay.
So as I'm getting up, and I forget how I kind of ventured into that. I think. I realized that you can't, if you don't have a range, then don't do it. But we're not going to get into that part. So yeah, "Don't Stop Me Now" by Freddie Mercury, not working. Yeah, not a
Okay.
good
Okay.
idea.
Copy that.
Uh huh.
Right. Yeah. I don't see that
Yeah, and then
happening.
if you don't know if you can't really hang with Method Man, then don't try on
Sure.
a first try. It
Right.
ain't going,
Right. Sure.
Method Man is not the whole song.
Sure. Right.
So
Yeah.
understand that. Understand that.
Hey, you get
Um,
off my cloud. You don't know me. You don't
yeah,
know.
hey, you
Oh,
get off of my.
right.
So I met
Oh,
two ladies, Alicia and Panda, and so here's me, kind of a little. I'd lived in Vermont. I'd lived briefly in LA, but still trying to kind of wrap my head around what's going on because Savannah. is unearthly. We have
Sure. Yeah.
cockroaches that are about this, about
Right.
that big, and they're
Right.
flying around.
Yeah.
The street looks like it. The sidewalk looks like it's moving because there's so many, more than New Orleans, mind you.
Sure.
And I'm just like, and it just this feel of otherworldly feeling. So I meet these two girls, and one had magenta hair, very attractive, and the other one looked a little like shaken up, and then we just started talking, and then they invited me to come there and meet them, like over the course of a couple days, and
Right.
we would meet there like several days in a row, and they said, so you're a medium, you know what you're doing,
Sure.
like you know what's happening, like, and I'm like, well, I'm being and at the time I was
Right.
super being trained,
Yeah.
and I had just adopted a lot of this methodology that I was trained by my mentor, Christia Cummings, holler, rest in peace.
Right.
She really helped me understand things. But
Right.
anyone that knows me knows that I'm going to adopt it, I'm going to own it, and I'm going to do my best to inundate it into who I am, into my cosmology, and really own it. So I said, hey, yeah, no, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm like rocking it out. I had something set up to appear on A&E for World's Scariest Places, and I was
Right.
like getting very excited about, what I was doing. So they're like, well, we might need help.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and
Right.
and we're all, as a Gen X person in the late, early 2000s, late 1999s, like it was, I was kind of like, yeah, like let me show you what I can do, like what's up, and
Right.
they're
Yeah. You wanted to prove
but I was
yourself.
concerned
You
about
were new to
Alicia.
it.
I
Yeah.
was kind of trying to vibe the Alicia person more than the other one, who was very confident, very in control, and kind of like Magenta Barbie meets Dolly Parton, like because Georgia has its own kind of je ne sais quoi, especially at that time period
Okay.
where it was like, even if you're interesting, you still had that kind of thing. When we
Okay.
actually got to her house, there was a whole Dolly Parton like movie collection, including The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas,
Okay.
which you wouldn't think that that would be something someone would want to promote as a female, right? But
Sure. Right.
yeah,
Well,
but
it's
it's
culture.
Dolly's the
Right.
shit. Dolly's the shit. So
Yeah.
and
Sure.
and yes, the movie, and it's weird that the movie was named as such too. But like, I guess the things they do in the '80s, like, whatever. So what are you gonna do?
I don't know.
Um, they also had Hot Dog the movie in the '80s. So like, what are you
They
gonna do?
did.
Right?
They
Yes, they
did.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, ski movie. So I'm getting off track. So anyway, they said we're having an issue in our home,
Right. Yeah.
and I said, okay,
Okay.
well, all right, what's going on? And I noticed that Alicia had bandages around her wrists,
Okay.
and she said that she had been struggling with night terrors and things throwing her out of her bed. And I said, really?
Okay.
So please understand, even though I had experienced and seen things in Savannah already at that point that I couldn't
Right.
quantify and really make sense of,
Right.
my, when you have that general like mistrust of the supernatural, I wasn't really taking her seriously. I just thought these were some, young women with some, I mean, their psychological issues, and maybe I'll go check it out and see. But obviously,
Right.
like, they're both cute, they're both nice, we're friendly with each other, everything's cool, but like maybe this one might be trying to kill herself, and maybe she needs a therapist or something, like, I was
Yeah.
there to
Sure.
help, and I was like, all right, well, what can I do to help? And they're like, you need to come to our new home. It had just been renovated, and the space, I think they told us that it had been empty for 200 years beforehand. And I
Okay.
was like, oh,
Okay. That sure.
okay. I'm
Some
like, well,
accumulation
that's
could occur. Yeah. Sure.
Well, I said that's very interesting, and I'm like, look, man, I got this. Well, I'm like, look, man, that's my thing. Like, I'm gonna go there. We're gonna see this. Don't worry about it. Maybe, hey, you know what? Like, it's all good. And then they said we just adopted a puppy. I'm like, well, that might have not been the best idea,
Okay.
considering, But I'm like, all right, well, I'm like, we'll figure this out. Let's keep it light. Let's get up and let's sing, King of the Road. Chill out and not worry about it. So let's do that, and then eventually, everything's gonna be fine. So guys, don't worry. And they're like, "Thank you so much. Oh my God, we
Right.
feel so
Sure.
much better." Now I was not barely maybe a year older than they are.
Right. Sure.
So why they trusted me to handle this in a way that would be profoundly effective. Now, granted, I wasn't also charging them anything either. I was just
Sure.
being like a cavalier person that,
Right.
so I was like, all right, let's go do it. So I realized that when they asked me to come over, that their house was directly, like, you could spit and hit the pirate's house right across the street.
Right. So you knew that there
And
was
I was
right.
like, eh, okay.
Right.
And I realized this street was a place where a lot of, I guess, where they housed, like up and down the street, where once upon a time, these were original buildings that were close to 200 years old. The bones were
Sure.
outside of renovation.
Yeah.
So a lot of the people involved with these kidnappings and whatnot were all housed in these buildings, and that their original space, before her family renovated it, purchased it for her as a college home so they could own it and then she could live there rent free. It had been empty and sat empty for 200 years.
Right.
So
Okay.
I'm like, that's interesting. Okay. Like, right.
Well, yeah, I mean it
And
it it could pose a few um
right.
hauntings, and but
Well,
obviously in the area that it was, it
the
yeah.
propensity for it
Yeah, sure.
could be, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like, okay, certainly. So I arrive, and then they introduced me to their German Shepherd puppy, who's of course adorable,
Right.
and who's so scared that it can barely function and is just shitting all over the place. Now, is that weird for puppies? Not necessarily. But
No.
and so this is like a split family home. The other side is still empty, but they were going to rent the other side whenever the construction and renovation gets done. So
Right.
that was the family's intention, I believe.
Okay.
And on the other side, it had been a home for her and her friend Alicia, who were besties from high school and all that
Right.
stuff.
Sure.
And then she started to tell me how at night this woman talks to her and tells her that she doesn't need to live anymore and
Ah,
she needs to end it all.
right.
And I said, Alicia, no. So I started to really connect with Alicia in a way, and I like went, and this is maybe one of the first real like life or death things where I was like, you're
Right.
important. You don't do this. Like, all the
Right.
life is a
Yeah.
gift and all this stuff. And I'm trying to talk to her,
Yeah.
and then she said, I don't think I can stay here tonight. She told me she's gonna come tonight, and I
Okay.
said, okay. So she left, and then. So here comes old girl Panda. Um, First of all, I'm still like kind of, like Panda. Why? What? I don't understand. And there might be a Southern thing. I'm not exactly sure about the connectivity with that. I think it's an old school name, like a Georgia name. So I was
Okay.
kind of like vibing, and then we were like kind of like, I hope she's okay, but we're also like, okay, you know, you know how you are when you're in your early 20s, right? I mean,
Sure.
you're just not you're a little incredulous about people actually handling their shit, and maybe I
Right.
was kind of a little like, I want her to be okay, but like, I mean, hey, you and I could chill and we don't have to worry about all that nonsense, but I am
Sure.
going to inspect your house. So let's rock around the house, let's look around.
Right.
And so we're inspecting the house, and as we move around, she's like, let me show you this hot tub in my private bathroom that I have outside the master bedroom.
Okay.
So I'm like, that sounds fun. Okay, cool.
Sure.
Like, all right, because she's kind of like, I don't want to really own this as being a real thing,
Right.
but I
Sure.
do want someone that actually knows what they're doing to be here to help me with this. And I'm like, all right. So we go into her bedroom and everything looks normal, whatever. And we go into the bathroom, and she shows me this, like, hyperjet hot tub situation. And granted, like, this is, over 20 and a half years ago. So, I mean, it's a hot tub. I was like, that's cool. But I mean, who do you know when you're in your 22 that has a hot tub in their bathroom? So I
Sure.
was like,
Sure.
yeah, holla, like, that's cool. And so here's me. Do you want to see something cool? So, so this is where, and I'll be totally honest and in hindsight, but this is how you learn. Um, I had done a lot of past life regressions with mirror magic for a very long time.
Right.
This is actually, yet another episode we're talking about mirror magic,
Yeah, sure.
where I knew that I could relax somebody and kind of get them in a relaxed space,
Right.
and then help them see who they were in their past life
Right. Sure.
in a relaxed space through the mirror.
Yeah.
The air started to get very solid. It felt like cloying in a way. It felt a little harder to breathe.
Right.
But I kept kind of pushing through. So she was standing next to me, and we're standing and looking in the mirror, like right in front of us. And so I said, okay, like we're gonna relax your breath, and then we're gonna open up to who you were before you were you in this lifetime,
Right.
and we're gonna open up a visual to it. What I did not realize was that the air had been inundated with the life and spirit of someone who had lived there. And I'm not going to say necessarily she was like a lieutenant of anything going on in the pirate's house, but it felt
Right.
like there was a pure energy connection to across the street. And I'd already
Right.
mumbled around in the tunnel already. So I was like, okay. And so we look in the mirror, and I start to ask that her past life come up, and that we see who she was in her past life, and the lights go out,
Ah.
and then
Okay.
so there's a dimmer. So if you've been in a bathroom, sometimes they have like the main big light, and then they have like one that's like a kind of a dimmer that, like, if you're barely half awake and asleep, so the dimmer comes on, so I can see her. And then I look to my left where she was standing, and it wasn't her anymore. It was this old lady with like gray, like stringy, wiry hair, and her mouth was doing this like, and there was no sound coming out, but it looked like she was saying all this stuff,
Whoa.
and there was no sound coming out. And she
Right.
looked, and then she looked, and then she turned towards me and looked at me, and I was like, and I closed my eyes. I'm like, oh my God. And this is what I used to do when I was younger, when I just had to like battle back against the spirit. And I was like, oh my God. And I opened my eyes again, and it was her. And she
Right.
said, I'm really afraid. And I'm like,
Right.
okay. And I'm like, we need to get out of this bathroom right now.
Right.
Right. So I
Yeah.
turned on, I started flipping switches, and suddenly the lights started working again. And we're like, okay, let's get out of this bathroom.
Right. Sure.
As soon as we shut the door, we're in her bedroom, which is fairly sizable, big bedroom. And then the whole bedroom started shaking. The walls started shaking. Artwork on the walls started shaking, and then I could see, and I've never seen this before, and it has nothing to do with the little projector I have in the background. But the
Right.
odd thing is when I saw these arms coming out of the walls, there were the woman that I saw. It was her arms, and I
Right.
knew her 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 force, the force of her energy, had like basically swallowed the whole room that we were around. It felt like we were in
Wow.
a bubble of her energy, and her arms just kept like poking out of the walls, like just reaching,
Yeah.
like some
Yeah.
kind of like bad like haunted house or something. And they were reaching from, like, there were like more than two. Like, it was like crazy. And then the
Okay.
room was shaking, and it was crazy. So I was like, I got you.
Right.
So I
Sure.
thought
I
I
can
thought I'm
handle
like, I
this.
got this.
Yeah.
And I just had basically learn this, like, this whole thing, and I had pushed some spirits back in a couple different situations. So I was like, all right,
Right.
let's go.
Sure. Right.
And I said, like, I said everything I need to say, and like, if you're not, like, aligned with this and that, like, I'm like, you have to be. And I banished her out of the room.
Right.
Everything stopped shaking, arms disappeared, the
Right.
air got like crisp again, we could
Right.
breathe.
Sure.
And she was like, damn. She
Wow.
was like, oh my God, like, wow, like,
Wow.
motherfucker. And she's like, that's impressive. So I was like, you know what I do? Like, and it was
You
weird
thought you were cool
because
at that point. Yeah. You thought you
now,
were
no,
cool.
well, when you're 22, I
Right.
mean, I'm not going to say, like, I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm not, like, I didn't know.
You're like
I,
Ghostbusters.
yeah,
You know.
well, I didn't know. Yeah, I was like, like, I got no problem. Now,
Right.
if I searched my actual feeling
Right.
in my subconscious and in my intellect, I know that I didn't quite solve all the issues,
Right.
and I definitely wouldn't have been like, let's like lay down and talk about this for a minute and chill
Right.
with each
Right.
other, as we were doing.
Right. Sure.
And as we did, we were sitting there and laying on the bed, and so I was so glad her friend Alicia was not there,
Right.
because
Sure.
she had a bad. She had to. I told her. She told me like this kind of weird shit was going to happen that night, and I told you got to
Right.
get out the house. Like, you got to go.
Right.
You got bandages on your wrist, dude. You got to bounce. And
Right.
the dog was, so she had taken the dog at the time, but she was supposed to come back at some point and bring the dog back or something, because she couldn't keep the dog all night,
Okay.
and it was a puppy or whatever. So we're laying in the bed and we're like, hee hee ha ha, like, oh, Darren, you're the shit.
Wow,
And
wasn't
like,
that
oh yeah, we
trippy?
got
Right.
you.
Yeah.
It's
Crazy.
all
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And then I can't explain it more than when you feel something ominous, like almost like the movie, like something wicked this way comes, like you feel something moving towards you,
Right.
like a malevolent spirit just moving. And then we could hear like the front door, like rattling, like rattling. And
Right.
then you like the doorknob was being, like, someone's testing the doorknob. Oh, Alicia must be home.
Right.
We didn't hear her say, hey, I'm home. We didn't hear the dog. And then and then the lights in the front room went off and went on again. All the
Okay.
lights started and moving down this long hallway towards the bedroom,
Right.
like someone's
Right.
coming, and
Yeah.
it's moving towards
Like from a
us.
movie, like it's just, coming down at you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
straight up. I mean, that is not invention. Someone got it
Right.
from somewhere, because that
Sure.
is spirit letting you know. Oh, oh, hell no!
Right.
Like it
You
was
might
coming
want to,
down
yeah.
the hallway, and the lights were flickering. All the shit was going off, and I was like, so of course, here's me. Don't worry, boo.
Right.
I got you, boo. No problem.
Right.
No problem. So when you see a phantasm, and this is how I learned about this, a
Right.
fully realized, like a powerful, powerful phantasm like this. She floated in. I could feel her right outside the door, and then she floated in. The bedroom door was open, so she floated in. The hallway was like she just took over the hallway, and then she floated in the room. She was about, I would say, maybe 4 feet above the ground where her skirt stopped,
Right.
and she floated in. Now, if you
Right.
don't know, a lot of spirits, you don't remember or you don't think about what your feet look like, so you don't waste your psychokinetic energy on
Sure.
creating footwear or what have you. But she was elevated way higher than anyone would have been standing.
Right.
And she's like, we're still laying on the bed, like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, I got this. And I'm like, so I sit up, and she floats in across the room, and I say, what are you doing?
Oh, hey,
This
listen.
isn't your house. So
Yeah.
now I'm being like smarmy and a dick, and not really in the power that I was initially at first.
Right. Right.
And I'm just trying to, I don't even know where my head's at, where I'm just trying to just be like, I'm like, is this your house right now? Is
Right.
this where you look? Because you got to bounce. Like, and I'll tell you another thing. So she was facing face forward like this, and the bed was here. So she turns like this, like someone you would swivel, like a swivel chair. Like, just
Right.
there was no human. She swiveled like this,
Right.
and she looked at me, and then the room started shaking again. The bed started shaking,
Wow.
and she dove right at the bed,
Right.
arms outstretched like this,
Right.
through both of us, through the bed,
Wow.
and you felt like this massive ice glacial chill push right through us, through the bed, down into the floor, and we both bolted up, threw off the I mean, we were screaming, and we ran
Right.
down the hallway,
Yeah.
and then at that point, surprise, here's Alicia with the dog about to walk in the door, and we're like, no, 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 get
Right.
your ass out of there. And then we were like, so we're sitting on this little porch outside looking across the street at the pirate's house with the
Right.
dog. And we all slept on that porch the rest of the night. And we were like, hell to the no.
Wow.
And we slept on that porch the rest of the night. Um, uh, a day later, I met up with Panda, and we went for a drink at a place called Chuck's. Chuck's was an institution, kind of an artsy, divey kind of punk rock bar, live music,
Right.
right on River Street, right on the river,
Okay.
Savannah River. And we walked in. Someone had done a painting of a woman with wiry hair, gray hair and a Victorian dress, and we looked up at it, and it was literally like adjacent to this little like booth we were in,
Right.
and we looked up and we were both like, "That's her."
Wow. Holy
And
crap.
it was, and I don't want to say it was exactly her, but it was enough that we both were like, we both at the same time
Yeah.
we said
Yeah.
that's her,
Right.
and we looked at each other. We like we saw the same. We saw everything the
Right.
same thing, and she was like, because of that, they sold the property,
Okay.
and we didn't have a lot of interaction. We maybe had a couple phone calls, but it was so beyond her comprehension, and it
Sure.
was beyond my scope of a realm to affect and deal with,
Right.
that I had never revisited that with either young woman, and I hope that they're both okay. And this is,
Right.
if either one of you ever hear
Right.
this vodcast, I
Yeah.
hope you're both okay. And it was,
Goodness. Yeah.
Savannah is a supercharger
I
for
guess
spectral
so.
energy.
Yeah.
And what happened, and I think it's very possible that Jean Lafitte had uh necromancers workers working for
Sure.
him,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And
it's
you renovate a home that's been empty
sure.
for 200 years, be
Right.
aware.
Sure.
Be vigilant, be aware. And I had to get broken down. I had to get my ass kicked.
Yeah. I mean, I think
I had to get my ass kicked because, you got your head on your shoulders, as they say in Savannah.
right.
You know, you
Right.
got to learn better. You got to learn
Sure.
better.
Sure. I mean, and the type of hauntings that you've experienced and, some of the paranormal aspects of spirituality, the way that people talk about it, and it's a lot of it's like a horror movie, and I think that, just to say, like, there's a lot of that goes on that people experience because that's like what is, um, I don't know, like maybe it's even also like what's in their head with the cosmology is that they are working with. And then there's also just to say, like, because sometimes we talk about spirituality, I think it's like a lot of people just get scared by um even entering the unknown because this is like what they think's going to happen,
Well,
you know?
well, when I met them, I wondered what is going on with this girl. She seems like so, like her friend Alicia, like she seems so together, and she is a wonder. Like she showed me her illustrations; they're beautiful. She's so happy to
Right.
go to this art school with her best friend.
Right.
And then her best friend, is her family had the money, so they paid for the reconstruction.
Right.
They paid for all of this stuff. So she's gonna be the asshole that says I can't live here because there's a spirit bothering me.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
She said she's
Yeah.
just like, I'm gonna deal with it. And
Right.
she did, and her friend was kind of like, whatever, dude, you're being
Right.
a pain in my ass. And
Right.
she didn't believe her, like she kind of did, but not really.
Right. That's understandable. Yeah.
And then I show up and I'm like, well, there's actually something to it. She's like, well, why don't you come to the house and help? And she actually didn't really even want to sign up for it. She's just like wanted to like hang out and like hook up or so. Like I don't
Right.
know what
Sure.
was going on.
Right.
And then it got crazy.
Right.
It got crazy.
Yeah.
And I think that it was because of, and I thank you all the people that helped me learn in Savannah, because it's helped me understand what not to do. What
Right.
not to do and
Right.
how to learn
I think
and grow
approaching
past.
if you feel something, that feels malevolent to you or feels um sometimes people that go into a space in a disrespectful way or a nonchalant way without respecting what is also in that space sometimes have experiences they wouldn't have had if they approached it respectfully and peacefully because it's a
Right.
reaction sometimes. It's a shared experience of communion between the spirit world and the people. So if the people are acting like the space is theirs, sometimes that's not true. And so, it's sometimes you don't learn how to share. And you feel like if someone intrudes on your space, maybe you get a little bit like, what are you doing in my space? So I think that does happen a little bit. But I also think there's a way to talk about it now, hindsight or just experience wise, where, you know, if you go into a space and it feels heavy or it feels
Mm.
strange or it feels like you're not really welcome there, find out why. Because we had a room in a house that we lived in. My wife went in there. It seemed a little weird in there. and she was up. She was nailing some paintings up, right? Because we just moved in, nailing some pictures up, and she was banging, getting into the wall, bang, bang, bang. And she goes back to her room, our room, way in the back of the house. And a little while later, she hears bang, bang, bang. What's that? Right? So it sounds like that's an ominous thing. So she goes and checks it out, and she realizes that somebody, I won't go into the whole story of it, but somebody did not like that somebody was just in there, just, hammering like it was their space, like she was commanding the room, right? And it was kind of ominous in there. We had experiences with it being kind of heavy and feeling dark, but then approaching it in a different way, coming in and saying, "Hey, I know you're here. I'm going to put up another painting, another picture. I'm going to hammer nice and chill. I'm not trying to just, it's your room too." And then when that happened, the experience lightened and it became a different frequency connection between the non-physical and physical inhabitants of that space. So I
There
think
are
that's something
ways
to
to do
teach.
this in a
Right.
and share space
Right.
and be communal.
Right. Because it always
Um,
seems like a horror movie with the occult. It's always like, ah, but like
well, a lot
there's
of
such great, so
witches
many
I know
groovy
or other
experiences.
spirit workers
Yeah.
want to share the space with whoever's there already,
Right.
and that can be great. And it can also it's a relationship. So
Yes.
realize you have space for that relationship.
Right. Right. And then I
If
think
you do not have space for an added someone that's going to say, "Hey, maybe your daughter needs to be fed right now,"
right.
and bother you about being a better mother, that could happen.
Sure. I
I'm
mean, and
not
that's
saying
right.
I'm not gonna share any more names or anything like that. I try to
Sure.
change the names
Sure.
for privacy and what have you. So,
Right.
but my point is, and people have interesting names, so I move them around. But my point is, uh, it's a relationship. So if you can't deal with what's there, it might
Right.
be easy to ask them to go on to their better space.
Right.
It might be something you have to do every so often, and or it might not even be possible. And some things
Sometimes,
like elementals
yeah.
are
Well, one
not
thing
leaving. I don't
I'd
care what
even
you do.
say,
Yeah.
no, no, I get that. What I've also found, as a way of dealing with it, perceiving it,
Mhm.
experiencing it, is saying, I would like peaceful coexistence, because a lot of times these frequencies are not really existing in the same dimension. Like they're kind of like it's like they're crossing a little bit, but there's so much else going on. So you can kind of be like, hi, I'm in this space. I would like a peaceful coexistence with you. I'm not trying to press into what you're about and what you're doing, what your imprint is experiencing, what you're about, what the space is to you, because this space,
Mhm.
what it is to me is not what it is to you. They can exist different times. It's not linear.
Well,
So you're
that's
saying,
very clear,
right.
and that's perfect. And there are ways to do that. However,
Yeah.
sometimes people, in their capacity to hire me, in their
Yes.
ability to continue to have to utilize the space for their domestic,
Right.
they're not able to pay me barely anything to come in there
Sure.
and deal with an interdimensional deity or
Right.
interdimensional uh, entity that has been there for who knows how long,
Indeed.
maybe before the Native Americans even settled, and
Sure.
and if that's the case, then I'm going to suggest other things.
Well, yeah,
Like
no, there's, I mean, and to be fair to say, me, I'm kind of like, I like to balance both sides of things to give a view of it, because on the side of like where you need Darren and the side of where you could, learn some tools yourself, like, because we teach that every day, because people come in, they always have these issues. We either give them to you or to other readers like Shelby, who we'll have on here at some point, another conjure woman that we work
Mhm.
with.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like sometimes there's a situation you need to pass on to somebody who needs to do some work in there, or set some boundaries, or just kind of like commune with the situation in a way that shows respect, and also shows that you can actually connect with it, because some people, they're just experiencing things, they don't know what they are. You can go in and really,
When I
open
started
the
to
space
really
up.
successfully change lives
Yeah.
so they can exist in spaces like this, or stop a people curse family members, they curse best friends, they curse
Sure.
ex-lovers. So how do you battle that consistently? Because
Right.
I can't be there eating breakfast with you every morning, you know
Right.
what I
Right.
mean? I can't. So what do? I have to empower people to do the things, to understand the things. And some of what we'll see in my docu-series that's coming up, our
Right.
docu-series,
Sure.
is testimonials from people that were,
Right.
maybe one of the two people in a couple where someone's an atheist and they didn't, and then they had no choice. But I'm like, you have no choice. Your children are at risk. Your life is at risk. Either sign up for something bigger than you for help because you can't do it by yourself.
Well, yeah. I
And
mean,
then
even
they did,
on,
and they're like, you know what?
yeah.
Thank you for just. I had to get over myself for a minute. And yeah, I mean,
Sure.
sometimes you do. And I'm not, no offense to any atheists out there. And if you're watching this, then that's
Well, I
fine.
mean,
But
I'm
if
not
you're
sure.
in battle
Yeah.
with a supernatural entity, you might want to get some tools to help you defend yourself.
Well, I'll say this, and people comment where they want. The concept of atheist means that there's nothing outside of the physical. And that is strange to me because I've had experiences of that since I was a child. I wasn't taught it. It's not a hallucination. I'm not being tricked by something. Like, this is how I see the universe. So if you're going to tell me what I see isn't true, if you're going to say ghosts aren't real, spirits aren't real, all your experience is just like you're crazy, then I'm going to have an issue with that because it's so science based and so
I'm
logical
not
based. I
walking the
can't deal with that.
crossroads.
If you don't want to deal with the
Yeah.
intuitive side of the universe, that's fantastic, but don't talk shit to me because I do. Because that's my birthright and you can fuck off.
You might
How
as
about
well
that?
walk around with a black bag over your head. Like
Well, I mean,
I don't understand
I'm
that.
down with that.
I
Look,
don't get
I understand that if people have religious trauma, they just want to go all the way to the other side of it. Like there's no reason to have religion. I get that. Totally. Or you want to deal with like a philosophy like I haven't seen it, so I don't know about it. But if I've seen it and I tell you I know about it, don't tell me I don't know about it.
don't
You feel
don't
me?
tell me,
Like
well,
it's not
I don't
religious. I'm
believe
on a
that.
mystical level. I don't care about religion. I care about just energy because it's out there. It's
When
happening.
people tell me they don't believe in Ayurvedic palm reading, I'm like, it's a
Right.
science.
Right.
It's reflexology. It's acupuncture. It's the same.
Right.
You don't believe in the central nervous system? Like I don't.
Right.
I
Right.
don't. So that's okay. And I'm not going to get all feisty with people. But
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
like,
I get riled. I get riled up. I get riled up sometimes. I get riled up.
okay.
You know
Did you
how I go.
Sagittarius?
Hey now,
Did you know
Firewalk. My
that
name's Firewalker. Sometimes, sometimes, sometimes. Yeah.
there's four
Yeah.
astrological signs
Yeah.
that are psychos, and that you're one of them? Did you know that?
Hey, I am proud to be a nutball. I'll be a nutball to my dying day. I'm having fun with it.
No,
I'm spinning around
no,
having a great time.
y'all can get spicy. Y'all can get
Yeah.
spicy.
Yeah.
Y'all
Well,
can
you're
get.
a little, Libra, chilling, world by Venus. I got some crazy stuff happening.
It's
Anyway,
all
but
good.
right. I'm
Don't
just
worry
saying,
about that ghost that's trying to
right.
kill us. Let's just chill in the bed.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I'm
Right. There
saying.
you are.
Don't worry
Yeah.
about it. We
But
good.
okay. So the main thing I wanted to say to
Okay.
kind of come up
Yes,
with
sir.
that is that
Yes, sir.
there
Yeah.
are people who have to deal with spiritual situations with somebody who has accreditation, somebody who has some knowledge and experience. But I do want to point out to the people that might see this that that's not the only side of spirituality because there's so much pummeled at us about the occult or metaphysics that always looks like a horror TV show. It always looks negative, it always looks creepy, it's always scary. And that has not been my experience since I was a child. I have had beautiful, benevolent, amazing
Thank you for
experiences with the spirits
thank
since
you for
I was a child.
sharing that.
Right. You
Right.
know that. So it's like, and I've worked in a voodoo shop for 25 years off and on, and I don't have a lot of bad experiences. Most of them, the bad experiences are walking in bodies. They're not the spirits. I have
I
great
was
experiences,
raised to
beautiful experiences. So
shut the
I
hell
don't,
up.
you know what I mean? Like there's
Mhm.
so much in TV and media about what mysticism is or what the spirituality is. And it's always like, if it's not from a mainstream religion, it's got to be negative or evil. And I'm
The
tired of that
lurid,
because it's not true. That's all I'm
the
saying. It's not
lurid
true.
the lurid sells, and the
Right.
lurid is exciting. The
Right.
scary is exciting for
Sure.
people. It's sensational.
Well, I
But
mean, even
the
we tell
fact of the
these, we,
matter is,
right. We tell
the
these stories
fact of
too
the
because
matter
they're fun. Yeah.
is I see movement from I see the aura of a tree outside today. I
Right.
I do,
Yeah.
and that those are things that happen to me all the time.
Right.
So when people are like, "Wow," and it's hard for me, dating or spending a lot of time friend wise with people that are inherently negative
Right.
or are dealing with a lot of negativity or adopt it into their life because
Right.
I'm very buoyantly happy because there's so much
Right.
to be happy about. And
Yeah.
I know that might not seem a little challenging,
Right.
you know, but
Sure.
guess what? Find it, look for it.
Right.
If you don't look for it, that's on you,
Yeah.
and look for it.
Well, see, and that's like the walking the crossroads element to me in this is that you can pass through the crossroads of fear
Mhm.
into knowledge, because fear instills a lot of these psychological trappings of you shouldn't look outside of the physical realm because it's all bad, or you should read this book that tells you the answers before you know them for yourself. I'm saying you can deal with it as wonder, because that's, we talk about the wonder, like you pass through one door, there's eight more. You're never going to know the answers. You're on a journey. Why not see what's going on it? What's happening here? That's what we talk about. So I'm glad that you talked about those harrowing experiences are real to a lot of people. And then but then that's all they think this is. And I just wanted to point out that's not the totality of our
I'm not mad at
magical
ghost
reality.
hunters. I talked about
Yeah.
ghost hunters in our last episode, or
Right.
the second part of this story.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at ghost hunters, but what's your purpose for hunting ghosts?
Sure.
And when I talked to the basketball wives, and I
Right.
said, "Hey girls, hey ladies,
Right.
if we're gonna do a séance, what are we trying to connect? Who are we trying to connect with,
Right.
and why?
Right.
And what's the what for what purpose to what end?
Yeah.
Because it's not
Right.
just for fun, and it's not just to prove to ourselves that it can be done.
Right.
Because I'm here to tell you, I
Right.
got 26 years of experience saying
Sure.
it can definitely be done. It's
And
my life.
that
That's what
also
I do.
goes
I do
back
for
to
a living.
saying, like,
So
if you approach a situation like that in spirituality, if you approach it like you're looking for some demon or you're looking for a scary ghost, if you approach it that way, you're going to get it back. Like, life is what you put into it,
careful what
right?
you wish
Magic
for.
is too, right? So if you perceive the spiritual universe as scary as shit, what do you think you're going to see?
You know, I'd love to talk to Chris Farley, right? I thought he was hilarious when he was like, I'd love to talk to him, but if I wanted to holler at Chris Farley, if I really wanted to open a channel up to him, I would
Right.
have a point and a reason to contact him, and it
Right.
better be good because why am I
Right.
disturbing his peace and his rest? I'm sure he was raised Catholic or Irish Catholic, and let that man rest, dude. I'm
Right.
not bothering Chris Farley for any reason
Right.
or whoever. Don't be selfish, and a lot of people, or they're interested in necromancy or what
Right.
have
The
you,
Ouija
they
board
don't
thing.
care and they do it anyway.
Every
And
time they
good
do a
luck.
Ouija board, it's got to be some scary movie. It's like Connecting with the Dead is not a scary movie. There are tribes all over the world that connect with their ancestors every day, and it's not a scary movie, and they don't have to wear black, and they don't have to look like
No,
they shop at
no.
Hot Topic. You know what I'm saying? Like, can we bring it down here to Earth, please? Because it's like, you don't have to.
They do have some good sales at Hot Topic.
I do. I love the culture. Like, I
Just
love,
kidding.
but
Yeah,
you
I
know
don't
what
go
I'm
to Hot.
saying? Like, yeah,
You
I
know I
love
don't
all
go
of
to Hot.
those, but just like, you don't have to, it's not the clothes you wear. It's
I'm
like the
sure.
experiences you
Yeah.
have, and people
No,
look into
right.
it like I'm not trying to creep anyone out by talking about mysticism. It's not scary. And that's all I'm saying. For me, it's not. And I just wanted to put that out there as a balancing, to the scary stories we sometimes hear, because I go
Your
through it every day.
cardiologist,
Right.
when you talk to your cardiologist, they say, hey, guess what? Don't eat so much shit late at night because it's
Right.
bad for you.
Right.
And you like to have your little snacks. You like to have your like
I
honey
do.
mustard and onion pretzel bites and what have you late at night.
Now I want
And
that.
no, they're good. They're real
I
good. The Hanover, those are good.
Right. I want the
Or I got these
jalapeno.
matcha Kit Kats.
Right.
Japan makes matcha Kit Kats.
Right. I'm sure they do.
Incredible. Yeah,
Right.
very good. But my
Okay.
point is, my cardiologist is gonna say, "Hey, Darren, don't
Right.
mess with that late at night. Don't
Right.
mess with that." I'm gonna tell people when they get a read, I'm like, "Hey, you haven't done anything spiritual lately," and they're like, "How do
Right.
you know?" I'm like, why did you just hire me? Like, like
Right.
I know
Sure.
that you're not doing nothing.
Right.
You need to
Right.
dust it off,
Right.
break out, talk to, I don't care if you talk to your ancestors, at least you're flexing those muscles.
Sure.
Because if you don't flex those muscles,
Right.
you have nothing to make yourself safe if there is a problem.
Sure.
And you
Sure.
meet that like sexy dude at the bar and you think they're cool and then you
Right.
start dating them and then they're from Haiti and then some weird shit happens and you got nothing to, you don't even know what's going on. and then you
Well,
call me, and then
right.
I'm saying you don't necessarily need to call me.
Well, I mean, you have
Just
to
have
essentially
your
at
own
some point
thing. Have your own thing.
you have to build your own armor. You can have someone help you
Yes.
build it, right? But it
Yeah.
has to come from within, or else that's the whole point is that
Mhm.
we're trying to help
Yeah.
people, realize themselves and connect with everything in a groovy way. I mean, that's at least for me. So, okay, we've had a talk here. Now, I want to say that I'm happy that you've shared these stories in Savannah, and they are riveting and they are scary because these things do happen, and there are some things out there that go bump in
I
the
want to
night.
be clear that
Yeah,
I did not exaggerate anything in the
no, I
story
know.
at
I'm
all.
saying like it's that, and we want to put
Well,
that
I
out
mean,
there for
I
sure.
can sensationalize stuff if I want to, and I'm very flowery about it if I want to.
Yeah,
There is nothing that I exaggerated at all. It was
yeah. Those are
pretty
your visceral
straightforward.
experiences. So yeah, and
Yeah.
Um, I also want to say, like, peace to your mentor and to Savannah and to everyone who's there. If you're watching this and you live there, we respect the hell out of the city. And, I've had I only had one day there, but I really did love it and would love to come back. So, peace to Savannah.
But you
And
got to respect the fact that even more so than New Orleans, because there's such an influx. People come there to have fun. There's
right,
fun. There's an influx of all this positivity.
right,
But Savannah is so sleepy
right.
that you could really step on the wrong bear trap by mistake.
Sure,
So it's one of the most beautiful places in North America, arguably the most beautiful. But go there and have respect, and
sure,
maybe have an idea of who you are spiritually,
sure,
and where and where your protection is, and realize Archangel Michael is not a Christian cultural construct. It is a cross-cultural thing. It is an energy that divides light from darkness, and if that is a way for you to protect yourself, then that's available. And he doesn't you know does not ask for anything in return, just for anybody that wants to go there and experience,
sure.
because
Any
it is a
protective spirit
beautiful
is
place.
fine. Whatever culture, it's fine. That's the archetypes. It's good to connect to archetypes that are protective because you're connecting to the archetype within yourself that protects your own spirit. And
Right.
when you connect to those, energies that can really feel like come to your aid, it's also you coming to your own aid. And that connection itself is what really creates the magic. And that's a beautiful thing to say. I appreciate that.
Yep. And Gabriel taught Allah how to make coffee and espresso. So word up.
Yes, sir.
Who knew that there were baristas going on with that situation?
Indeed.
Not to be campy about that, but I'm
Right.
saying these are not somebody at the Catholic, statue store. It just created
Right.
this. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
This is not.
Sure.
This is something that all these cultures have a symmetry, but for a
Yes.
reason.
Sure.
It's there for a reason, and the
Yes.
tools are there, but you can
Yes.
pick it up, and you don't necessarily need your lady on TikTok, or me, or anyone, or your Aunt Sally, who's super awesome at this,
Right.
to tell you it's okay. You can just say, all right, I know that I'm a good person and I need to be protected. So what's up?
There's nothing wrong with that, especially right now. I think we should all attune to the power of, positive energy and karmic banishing at the same time. I think
Yep.
that'd be a great
Yep.
idea.
Yep. Oh, that's a really
Indeed.
good
And we'll have
idea.
some more episodes coming up with some people that
Yep.
work with some of those spirits. So stay
Stay
tuned.
tuned.
Indeed.
Check out our, if you want to just listen to the audio and you're driving, to check out Spotify and Apple
Yep.
Podcasts. If you want to see the video, of course, our YouTube page is awesome. Or if you need a reading, you can certainly get a hold of me on my website, darrenbucare.com, or go see this guy at Marie Laveau's House of Voodoo, and we'll catch you again and walk in the crossroads.
Peace.